Dimela, we will be doing equations. So far, we have been busy with expressions, where you know that expressions are represented by adding or subtracting or multiplying. I don't want to say terms when you multiply and divide, but when we add or subtract terms, we end up having an expression. That expression changes to be an equation when it is equated to a certain expression or value. What gave rise to an equation is where we have an expression which is the same or equal to a certain value, and we want to find the unknown in that expression. And because we want to find the unknown, we introduce the equal sign because you'll be told that this expression is equal to or is the same to a certain quantity. Let me give you an example. If I've got 7 boys in grade 8C, and when I add them with the number of girls, which I do not know, I should have, because I know I only have 25 students in grade 8C. This is what an equation is. 7 plus y on its own is just an expression, but immediately when we introduce the equal sign, it becomes an equation, expression, equation. It's equated to a certain value or expression. Now, to be able to find the number of girls in this equation, so whenever you see an equal sign, you must just know that you are dealing with an equation. We are going to follow certain steps. Here are the steps. You first isolate the unknown terms, that is, take terms with unknown variables to one side and constants to the other side. As we have learned when we did expressions, constants are numbers that are not multiplied by any variable. When a term is taken to the other side or transposed, we say in math, we say we are transposing. When an expression is transposed from the left-hand side to the right-hand side or from the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the equal sign, it will change signs. What do we mean by changing signs? If it was positive, it will end up being negative. And if it was negative, it'll end up being positive. That only happens when a term is transposed across the equal sign. Once you have transposed, add or subtract like terms, meaning that you have to apply the rules that you learned under adding or subtracting like terms. If the variable and the exponents are the same, you just add their coefficients, you keep the variable as it is. That is when you are adding unknowns. And obviously with constants, it's pretty much straightforward. 6 plus 4 is 10. But when you have variables, remember you keep the variable and its exponents the same. You just add their coefficients. And then you will simply, at the end, you should be left with a variable and its coefficient. And to solve for that variable, you just divide by the coefficient. That is the theory. Let us do an example. So here we've got x plus 19 is equal to 25. The first step, I said you need to isolate x. What does it mean when we say we are isolating? It means we are leaving x on its own. So we have to get rid of that 19 that is on the left-hand side by moving it to the right-hand side. When we take that plus 19 to the right-hand side or move it to the right-hand side, what did I say is the mathematical term for that? It is to transpose. So we will transpose plus 19 to the right-hand side. And I said to you the rule is when you transpose a term across the equal sign, its sign will change. If it was positive, when it crosses the equal sign, it will be negative. Since 19 is positive, when it crosses the equal sign, it will be negative. And by moving 19 or transposing 19 to the right-hand side, you will have successfully isolated x. On the right-hand side, we had positive 25. You will just take that positive 25 and subtract 19. 25 minus 19 is equal to, it is equal to 6. That's how we solve for x. We will do the checking later on. So this is what the value of x is, meaning that what value can you add with 19 in order for you to get 25? That value will be 6. And this is how we find that value. Okay, I did that. Try this. All right, what did you do? The variable that we need to solve for is b. We needed to transpose 20 to the right-hand side. 20 is negative. When we transpose it to the right-hand side, it becomes positive. Already on the right-hand side, we've got 10. When you add 10 with 20, you will get 30. So B should be 30. What value, when you subtract 20, you'll get 10? That value will be 30. So B is 30, which is the unknown value. That was for me. I am going to give you a classwork, and I need you to sit down and do it. Parents, please monitor your kids and make sure that they actually do this on their own. They solve it until the time is up, and then please try to guide them and mark their work. That's how they learn. So for this one, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. You've got 2 minutes. All right. Your 2 minutes starts now. And here are the questions. So for the first one, what did you do? You took plus 21, you transposed it to the right-hand side. You ended up isolating x, and x being equal to 23 minus 21. What is 23 minus 21? 23 minus 21 is equal to 2. For number 2, the variable there is b, that is the unknown. What will be the value when we subtract 9? It should give us 31. To get that value, you will take this 9, transpose it to the right-hand side. It will be positive. Remember, when you transpose, the sign changes. By transposing negative 9, you will have isolated the unknown value of b, which is obviously b, it's unknown. So b will be equal to 31 plus 9, and that will give you 40. Let's do more examples. What happens when you just have 8 is equals to 8n and you want to solve the variable? To solve the variable, where you're only given the variable and the coefficient being equal to a certain value, you will need to divide both sides by the coefficient of the variable. The coefficient of n is 8. To get rid of that coefficient, because when we solve for the variable, we're solving for that variable and its coefficient should be 1. Even the exponent should be 1. Obviously, here we have n, so its exponent is 1. To solve for this n, I am going to divide both sides by 8. So this is how we divide both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Similarly, on the right-hand side, 8n divided by 8 will give you 1n. Hence, you will have n is equals to 1, or 1 is equals to n. It's the same as n is equals to 1. You got it. Great. Now, number 2. I'll show you 2 methods on how to solve for number 2. The first method, you will notice that in number 2, the variable is negative. And we can't work with a negative variable. To change that variable to positive, you can just transpose it to the right-hand side. So that negative x will become positive. So you'll end up having on the right-hand side 8 plus x. Now that the variable is positive, you can now isolate it. Now you are isolating it by transposing 8. When 8 goes or is transposed to the left-hand side, it will become negative. And that's how you would have solved for x. 11 minus 8 gives you 3. So 3 is equals to x, so you can say x is equals to 3. An alternative way of solving this is you can say 11 minus x is equal to 8. Then you will have minus x is equal to 8. So I'm isolating minus x by transposing this 11 to the right-hand side. That 11 was positive because there's no sign there. So if there's no sign, you must just know that it was positive. So when you take 11 to the right-hand side, it will be negative 11. What is 8 minus 11? 8 minus 11 is negative 3. But as I told you, when you solve for the variable, it cannot be negative. So to get rid of that negative, simply multiply both sides by negative 1 or divide both sides by negative 1. It's up to you as to what you want to do. The reason why we multiply by negative 1 is to ensure that our variable is positive. So you will remember this. Negative times negative is positive. So we end up having positive x, which is what we wanted. On the right-hand side, we really don't care what it is, as long as it is as it's a value. What a tongue twister there. So negative 3 times negative 1, it gives you 3. So now that is the value of x. So it's your choice whether you want to use method 1 or you use method 2. Which one will I recommend? Well, I will recommend method 2 because it allows you to work with anything. Sometimes transposing and transposing again might confuse you. So this one, you transpose, and if your variable is negative, at the end, you just multiply both sides by negative 1. That's it. You got it? Let's see if you got it. Again, mommy, daddy, please monitor and make sure they do this in 2 minutes. Let's go. All right. Now let us see how you did. For the first one, you just had to divide both sides by 5. So you divided 10 by 5 and you divided 5n by 5. The aim was to get rid of the coefficient of n. So on the right hand side, you'll be left with n, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. Number 2, transpose 9 to the right hand side. So you'll have 6 minus 9, and 6 minus 9 is negative 3. So we've got negative x is equals to negative 3. We can't allow the variable to be negative, so I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1, multiply this side as well by negative 1. So you'll end up having negative x times negative 1. So it's negative x times negative 1. It gives you negative times negative is positive. And x times 1 is just x. Remember, whatever you multiply by 1 is whatever. So u times 1 is u. X times 1 is x. M times 1 is m. Z times 1 is z. Okay? So hence here we end up having x being equal to positive 3. That's it. Or you could have used this method. Alrighty. Okay. Now, for this ones, give yourself 12 minutes. Mommy put on the timer there. Daddy put on the timer there, or sister or brother, for 12 minutes. They must do this on their own and pause until the 12th minute is over. Then press play. And here we go. I guess you've done everything now. That's why you pressed play. For the first one, you will transpose 12 to the right-hand side. When you transpose 12 to the right-hand side, negative. So you'll end up having 12 minus 12, and the value of n will just be 0. For number 4, you transposed 8. 8 to the right-hand side, it became negative. 12 minus 8 gives you 4. For number 5, instead of transposing 11, you might have transposed negative x. You ended up having 11 is equals to 7 plus x. And then you transpose 7, which will give 11 minus 7, which is x. And 11 minus 7 is 4. So x is equals to 4. For number 6, transpose negative 3. You'll have 8 plus 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. For number 7, you have z plus 5 is equal to 12. Transpose 5, which will give you 12 minus 5. And 12 minus 5 is 7. So z is 7. For number 8, I could have transposed 6 because we've used the other method before. Let me use a different method this time. I will have 9 minus 6 is equal to negative 6p. So 9 minus 6 gives you 3 is equal to negative 6. P, so I'll divide both sides by negative 6. And that was because I wanted to get rid of the coefficient of P. And it also automatically got rid of the negative. So I end up having negative 3 divided by 6 is equal to P. When you simplify this and find the simplest equivalent fraction, I know you did this in grade 7. So you'll say 3 goes into 3 once and 3 goes into 6 twice. So this is the equivalent fraction of 3 over 6. When you simplify it, it'll just be 1 divided by 2 is equal to P. For this year, if you're to bring this to this year, we just divided the numerator and the denominator by their common factor, the highest common factor. In this case, it happens to be 3. And that's how we got that negative half, which is the value of P. If you did not use that method, then you must have used this method. Did she get all of them right? That's great. All right, let us move to the next one. So far, we only learned on how to solve for one term that has a variable. But now we've got an unknown on the left-hand side. We also have an unknown on the right-hand side. You need to group the unknowns together and take all the constants to one side. So unknowns to one side, constants to one side. But how do we decide which variable or term that has a variable needs to move? You look at the coefficient of the variable and you take the smaller coefficient to the bigger coefficient. So the 2 must be the one that goes to the 3 because 3 is bigger than 2. So I will transpose this 2y to the right-hand side because the coefficient 2 is smaller than the coefficient 3. By so doing, it means I must also take this 4 to the left-hand side. So you don't make your decision based on the constant. You make your decision based on the unknown term or a term that has the unknown. So automatically, if you take 2y to the right-hand side, you need to take negative 4 to the left. So when you move negative 4 to the left or transpose it to the left, it will be plus 4. So you'll have 1 plus 4. And when you transpose 2y to the right, it will be negative because right now it's positive. So you'll have 3y minus 2y. Remember what I said when I started this video. When you are subtracting or adding terms that have unknowns, you just add or subtract their coefficient. So 3 minus 2 will just give you 1. So you end up having 1 plus 4 is 5, and 3 minus 2 is y. Try this. So here you transposed 8b to the left. So you ended up having 9b minus 8b. And you transpose negative 2 to the right. You ended up having positive 2. So it'll be 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. But remember when we started the video, I said to you, if you are adding or subtracting terms that have unknowns, you just add or subtract their coefficients. So 9 minus 8 gives you 1. So you end up having b, 1b is equals to 3. But also from the beginning, you need to remember if the coefficient of the variable is 1, we do not write it. So here your answer will just be b is equals to 3. Just to revise this. When you have the unknown variables on both sides, you move the variable that has the smallest coefficient to the variable that has the bigger coefficients. So you transpose the term that has the smaller coefficient to a term that has a bigger coefficient. And we're only talking about the terms that have unknowns or the variable. So when you move 2y to the 3, it ended up being negative because that 2 was positive. I said to you, if a term is a first term and there's no sign in front of the term, you just know that it is positive. So you transpose that positive to the left, it'll give you negative. Then you will say 3y minus 2y. When you subtract the unknowns, you only add or subtract their coefficients. The variable and the exponent remain the same. So that is why we are only left with 1y is equals to 5, or 5 is equals to 1y. It doesn't matter what you call it or how you write it. All right, let's do it again. Try it on your own for 2 minutes. Your 2 minutes is up, but I'm sure you moved 5y to 6y because 5 is smaller than 6. On the left, you ended up having 6y minus 5y. On the right, you had 6 plus 1. So y is equal to 7. For 2, you moved 9b to 10b. On the left, you ended up having 10b minus 9b. On the right, you ended up having 3 plus 8. So b is 11. All right, more examples. Try these ones on your own again. So for the first one, you moved 4y to 6y. 6y minus 4y will give you 2y. And you moved 2 or transposed negative 2 to the right. On the right, you had 6 plus 2, which gave you 8. To solve for y, you had to divide both sides by 2. So you divided this side by 2 so that y can have the coefficient of 1, and you had to divide that side by 2 as well. So 2 into 2 goes once, you end up having 1y is equal to 4. Did the same with number 2, 10b minus 8b. On the right, you will have 4 plus 8. To solve for b here, you have to divide both sides by 2. 2b divided by 2 is 1b, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. Try this one. You took y to 4y and you transpose 6 to 9. On the left, you'll have 9 minus 6. On the right, you'll have 4y minus y. 4y minus y, 4 minus y. Remember I said, if it's a variable on its own, its coefficient is 1. So 4 minus 1 is 3. And 9 minus 6 is 3. You end up having 3 is equals to 3y. Then you divide both sides by 3. So y will be 1. 1 is equals to y, or y is equals to 1. For number 2, transpose 8. You'll have 12 minus 8, which is 4x, and you'll have 4 plus 6, which is 10. Divide both sides by 4. Divide this side by 4. You have x is equals to 10 over 4. 10 over 4, the equivalent of 10 over 4 will be 5 over 2. So you take the highest common factor between 10 and 4. And the highest common factor between 10 and 4 will be 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. We did highest common factors right at the beginning of the year, right? You can check a video on that under grade 8 mathematics. All right. That's it. What happens when we have fraction? I love putting in questions with fractions because somehow students or learners are freaked out by fraction. I don't know why. We have m divided by 3 on the left, and on the right we've got 2 divided by 1. To solve such expression, change both the left and the right to a fraction. Now, on the right, we have 2. How can I change that or write it in fraction form? You just divide it by 1. Once you have divided it by 1, you need to find what we call the lowest common denominator. To me and you, it's known as the lowest common multiple of the denominators. The first denominator is 3. So find me multiples of 3. What are they? It is 3, 6, 9. Now, find me the multiples of another denominator, which is 1. What are they? It is 1, 2, 3, and 4. These two given numbers, which multiple do they have in common? And it must be the lowest. It'll be 3. 3 will be the lowest common multiple. And that lowest common multiple is what we call our LCD, which is 3. Now, what you need to do is to make sure that your denominators are equal to the lowest common multiple. Already on the left, the denominator is 3. So I'm just going to take that m and divide it by 3. I won't change that. However, on the right, the denominator is 1. And for me to change this 1 to that LCD, I need to multiply it by 3. But the rule is that if you multiply the numerator, you must also multiply the denominator. If you multiply the denominator, you must also multiply the numerator. So the left stays the same as m divided by 3, and the right will be, when you multiply fractions, it's always numerator multiplied by numerator and denominator multiplied by denominator. So 2 times 3 will give you 6, and 1 times 3 will give you 3. Once the denominators are the same, you can drop the denominators and just equate the exponents in any equation. Once your denominators are the same, drop the denominators and equate the exponents. So here you'll end up having m is equal to 6, or 6 is equals to m. That's it. Try this one. What must we do? Divide 2 by 1, correct? Then find your LCD. I won't do it for you now. Find the lowest common multiple of your denominators. Your denominators is just 5 and 1. What will be the lowest common multiple? It is 5. So here I have 2x, which already has the denominator that is equals to our LCD. So I don't change that. But on the right, I have to change it. So that one, I need to change it to 5 by multiplying it by how much? By 5. But if I multiply the denominator, I must also multiply the numerator. So I end up having 2x divided by 5 is equal to 10 divided by 5. Since the denominators are the same, drop them and just equate the numerators. Guys, it makes sense, okay? Like, for instance, if I have m, like I did in the previous example, divided by 3 is equals to 6 divided by 3. M can't be any other value except for 6, for these two to be the same. If I put 5 where there is m, they won't be the same. So for them to be the same, if the denominators are the same, the numerators must also be equal for us to say the left and the right are the same, or they are equal. So same here. If the denominators are the same, it makes sense for us to also equate the numerators. To solve for x, I will need to divide both sides by 2. I will end up having x is equal to 5. That's it. Okay, try this one on your own. Let's go. You divided 2 by 1. Then you had m over 5 is equal to 10 over 5. M will be 10. All right? Try this one. For this one, though, most of you will be confused by this negative 5. But know that the 3 is positive. So to make it easy for yourself, just leave that negative in the numerator. And in the denominator, remain with the 5. In this way, you will end up having 30, negative 30 divided by 5. So you will have negative 3x is equal to negative 30. So x will be equal to 10. That is because you divided both sides by negative 3. Negative 30 divided by negative 3 will give you 10. And negative 3 divided by negative 3 will just give you 1. But remember, we do not write it. So that's why you have x is equals to 10. And that will be it for today. Thank you for watching. More videos on this to come. Kgotso.